Oh, to I don't want to talk about it. I will broke my heart. If I stay just a little bit longer, if I stay, would you listen to my heart? Listen to me before I said you told me everything I know. Can imagine me so long, so but when you listen to me, I need you more and more. You are the good right. Together we were strong. I've always been so glad to be with you, to love you. It's better than every day. You kiss my tears away. Well, I'm so glad I stay right here with you, to love. Roses, I see them blue. People good, I see friends shaking hands, saying how to do. Baby said, I love you. I hear it's right. I rush and roll, very much more. I never know when I think to myself, what a wonderful world. When I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I have the pleasure and the honor of calling the 2026 Pearl Awards Corporate Summit to order. If we may all please, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please rise to the anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you, everyone. Please, let's be upstanding.
Don't try mental in brotherhood we stand. Nigeria's own and proud to sell our sovereign more. On the station, give one like you recognition. You are the heartbeat, you are the bond which over was so strong. This better one is showing to become development. This better one is all about. Performance and excellence. And in this world and competition that we have set a standard. Time is now to reward excellence. Time is now to give pride a place. Time is now. Time is now. You are the heartbeat, you are the bond which hold the world so strong. Doff your heart, cause the real leaders are here. Of our economy, doff your heart, cause the real leaders are here. Of our economy, excellence is a universal language. Excellence is a business language. Doff your heart, cause the real leaders are here. Excellent is a universal language. Excellent is a business language. Doff your heart, cause the real leaders are here. Time is now to reward excellence. Time is now to give pride a place. Time is now. Time is now. You are the heartbeat, you are the bond which hold the world so strong. You are the heartbeat, you are the bond which hold the world so strong. You are the heartbeat, you are the bond, hold the world so strong. You are the heartbeat, you are the bond which hold the world so strong. Thank you.
A very big round of applause, please. That's going on world record for your information. Good morning, everyone. And now it is written that he who created them in the beginning created them male and female. I'm not too sure about the height difference between Adam and Eve, but I'm sure Eve must have had a very good height as well. So don't mind the height disadvantage that I have this morning with my co-anchor from LM247. Please welcome my co-anchor.
My name is Yemisi Lanredo. It's great to have you all here. Please give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you. You know, every business in this room was built on two things: a good idea and a stable environment to grow. But you know, stability today doesn't mean no change. It means navigating change and navigating it well. That's what navigating towards a sustainable edge is all about. And you know, policy reforms are rewriting the rules of the game. Corporate competitiveness is deciding who stays on the field. So today, we're not just talking policy, we're talking survival, we're talking scale, and we're talking staying power, right?
Exactly. You're very correct. We live in an era of reforms. And if you think that phrase applies only to Nigeria, you are mistaken. It's global. The only thing you don't want to happen to you is not to reform when others are doing it and you're left behind. And please give your hands of applause, please, to ladies and gentlemen who have been carefully curated, members of the Nigeria's corporate Nigeria that will be speaking to us this morning through to the afternoon. Please give your hands of applause, please. Let me start by recognizing that we want to make good use of time to listen to these rich minds of business, policymakers, market drivers, regulators, and those who have all it takes to drive us through reforms and why corporate competitiveness is important for Nigeria at this time. Let me say a very big thank you to the Pearl Awards team. Please put your hands together. First, to Mr. Tayo Orekoya, the President and CEO. And why do I recognize him first? Please stand up for recognition, Mr. Orekoya, because it takes a whole lot to put this together. Please give a very resounding, warm applause. Thank you very much.
I'm sure we can do better.
Yeah,
we can
yes,
do
we
better.
Can. Yes, we can. Thank you very much. But let me please recognize our special guest of honor, the man who sits, well, on top of about almost 160 trillion naira empire. Trying to find out when the Dangote's IPO comes out, who's going to be big. But again, he's the one who's going to swallow one of the biggest investment Nigeria ever seen. Put your hands together for Dr. Umaru Alhaji Kwaranga, the man who is the chairman of the NGS Group, Nigerian Exchange Group PLC. Thank you very much. And that's the man who will be making that statement for the biggest deal Nigeria would ever have. But on behalf of the Pearl Awards, please let me say a very big thank you to a man I've known for many years, one of our seniors, my seniors in this room, the chairman of the Pearl Awards Board of Governors, Chief Dr. Farouk Umar. And to our keynote speaker of the day, the man under whom I've trained, and the man whom sometimes, when I have the privilege of interviewing him, I get phone calls, and I was told how badly I did, because he always trumped me. Perhaps his first profession would have been mass communication. Mr. Bismarck Rewane. Please put your hands together for him. A very big, resounding round of applause, please. He's the Managing Director and CEO of Financial Derivatives Company and the current chairman of FCMB. A round of applause, please. One of Nigeria's largest banks. He is a keynote speaker today and for this year. And finally, from me, and not the least, Mr. Jude Chiemeka, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Exchange Limited, were represented by another very choleric official of the Nigerian Exchange team, Mr. Abimbola Babalola, the head of trading and products.
Please, we can do better by giving them that
I'm going to join the clapping.
I'm
going to join the applause. You hold it there, and let me do the remaining one.
All right. And make sure you do it better, okay? I want to hear it from the back. All right, permit me to welcome that woman that I highly respect. If you've not met that woman before, then you've not started. I'm talking about the past president, Institute of Directors and Chairman, Strategy Committee. She sits on the Pearl Awards Board of Governors. I'm talking about Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi, MFR. It's great to have you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. All right. It's a great pleasure to also have in our midst the former chairman, Nigerian Economic Summit. All right. Okay. We have in our midst today the founder, director, lead capital group, and member, Pearl Awards Board of Governors. I'm talking about Prince Abimbola Olashore. It's great to have you, sir. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you.
How long did it take you to put this together?
Also, this very important personality is here, and he has always been on ground for us every time we call on him. is the Chief Executive, Tijani M. Borodo and Associates and member, Pearl Awards Board of Governors. I'm talking about Alhaji Tijani Borodo. Please give him a round of applause. Is he here? All right, we're expecting him. And we have the founder, the chairman, Proshare Nigeria Limited, and member, Pearl Awards Board of Governors, Mr. Femi Awoyemi, FCA. It's great to have you, sir. All right, we'll move on to the immediate past president, Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, if he's here. I'm talking about Mr. Olurokpo Dada. Is he here? It's great to have you, sir. Thank you. You're welcome. All right, but I expected that you were going to be clapping. What happened? Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I think we'll also be recognizing and saying very big thank you to all our distinguished panelists and other members of the board of the Pearl Award, the Board of Governors, whether they are here or they are absent for one or two reasons. We plan to have with us, unfortunately he was bereaved, Mr. Bola Ajomale, who is an executive commissioner at the SEC, a former CEO of the NESD OTC exchange, but he's here represented today, ably represented, mind you, Mrs. Uroro Baje, senior manager at the SEC. Madam, you're welcome. Please give a hand to our regulator in the room. It's good to have you around this morning. Let me also say a very big thank you to Dr. Catherine Nwosu, the president of the Institute of Capital Market Registrars and the managing director and CEO, Africa Prudentials PLC. And that's one of the listed financial services firm in Nigeria, if I may add that as a PR. I'll get my bill, get the payment later. Mr. Tokumbo Smith, the managing director and CEO of T&Y Consulting. Are you here this morning? Okay, we're expecting him. He's on the way. And Mr. Lekon Adekoya. Now, Lekon Adekoya got a very special award at the Pearl Awards. Was that last year, Mr. Adekoya? For being an outstanding, the longest serving member of the Pearl family. He took that award from me, proudly so, deservedly so, because he has served more than I did. Please put your hands together for Lekon or Adekoya.
Lekon Adekoya, where are you?
If he's in the room, I will have that.
All right,
no,
please give him a round of applause.
So that I can see that you are really working hard. Now that you're here, thank you so much. That's the reason why he was outside. Mr. Johnson Chukwu. That's another man I've had privilege of interviewing until day before yesterday or so, a few days ago. The man in blue suit. Put your hands together for him, a distinguished member of the Nigerian capital market. He is a member designate Pearl Awards Board of Governors. Put your hands together for him. That was missing in my introduction of you just a day ago or so. So we're going to watch that one very well, sir. He's the group CEO of Carry Asset Management. And finally, and not the least, Dr. Kamaru Okunola, first Vice President of the Institute of Capital Market Registrars. Thank you very much, sir. Good to have you in the room.
All right, I've been told that we also have students in our midst, the students of University of Lagos. Are they here? All right, please give them a round of applause. It's great to have you. Yes, thank you.
And Mrs. Ifeoma Ezeonu, Managing Director and CEO of Planet Capital Limited. All right, thank you. It's good to have the capital market ecosystem with us. I think before we overshoot the bill, let's give the floor to the President and CEO of Pearl Awards Nigeria. A welcome address by our chief host today, Mr. Tayo Orekoya, FCA. Please give him a round of applause as he comes to the podium for a brief opening address.
The special guest of honor, Dr. Umar Kwarangai, Chairman, Nigerian Exchange Group. The Chairman, Pearl Awards Board of Governors, our own Chairman, Chief Dr. Farouk Umar, distinguished members, Pearl Awards Board of Governors, the keynote speaker, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, Managing Director, CEO, Financial Derivatives Company Limited, and brand new Chairman, FCMB Bank. Can we please appreciate him? Congratulations, sir, on this well-deserved appointment. Esteemed panelists, captains of industry, representatives of regulatory institutions and government agencies, members of the investment community, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is with immense pleasure and a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you to the 2026 Pearl Awards Corporate Summit. On behalf of the Board of Governors, Management and Central Working Committee of Pearl Awards Nigeria, I thank you for honoring our invitation and for your continued support of this important platform for thought leadership, stakeholder engagement, and the advancement of excellence in corporate Nigeria.
Thank you.
This year's summit is particularly significant as it comes on the heels of two remarkable milestones in our journey. The highly successful 2025 Pearl Awards Corporate Summit, themed Built to Last, a roadmap for corporate Nigeria, and the celebration of the 30th anniversary of Pearl Awards, a landmark achievement that reaffirmed our commitment to promoting corporate excellence, transparency, shareholder value creation, and sustainable growth in Nigeria's capital market. For over 3 decades, Pearl Awards has remained a trusted institution dedicated to recognizing and rewarding quoted companies that consistently deliver superior performance and create value for investors. Our mission has always been anchored on promoting corporate excellence, strengthening investor confidence, and contributing to the development of a resilient and globally competitive capital market. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of today's summit, Policy Reform and Corporate Competitiveness, Navigating Towards a Sustainable Edge, is both timely and compelling. Across the world, economies are being reshaped by rapid technological advancement, changing geopolitical dynamics, climate-related challenges, evolving trade relationships, and shifting investment priorities. In Nigeria, ongoing economic reforms are redefining the operating environment for business, creating both opportunities and challenges that demand strategic adaptation. Policy reforms are essential instruments for economic transformation. When properly conceived and effectively implemented, they stimulate investment, improve productivity, encourage innovation, and enhance market efficiency, thus strengthening the competitiveness of enterprise. However, reforms also require businesses to demonstrate agility, resilience, and foresight in order to remain relevant and profitable. The central question before us today is therefore not whether reforms are necessary, but how businesses can successfully navigate reform-driven environment while building sustainable competitive advantages that endure over time. As corporate leaders, policymakers, regulators, investors, and market operators, we share a collective responsibility to ensure that reforms translate into tangible economic benefits. This requires constructive dialogue, policy consistency, institutional effectiveness, and a commitment to creating an enabling environment that supports enterprise growth and long-term value creation. Our expectation is that today's discussion will provide valuable insights into, one, the impact of current and emerging policy reforms on corporate performance and investment decisions, strategies for enhancing corporate competitiveness, in a rapidly changing business landscape, the role of innovation, governance, and sustainability in driving long-term success, the importance of public-private sector collaboration in delivering national economic objectives, and pathways for positioning Nigerian companies to compete effectively in regional and global markets. Distinguished participants, the future belongs to organizations that can anticipate change, adapt quickly, and transform challenges into opportunities. Sustainable competitiveness is no longer determined solely by financial strength. It increasingly depends on innovation, governance, quality, operational efficiency, human capital development, technological capability, and commitment to environmental and social responsibility. At Pearl Awards Nigeria, we believe that corporate competitiveness and sustainable development are mutually reinforcing objectives. We therefore remain committed to providing platforms such as this summit that facilitate meaningful engagement among stakeholders and promote the exchange of ideas capable of shaping stronger corporate and economic future for our nation. As we commence deliberations today, I encourage all participants to engage actively, share perspectives openly, and leverage the collective expertise assembled here. The quality of our conversations and the strength of our conclusions can contribute meaningfully to policies and strategies that enhance Nigeria's corporate and economic competitiveness and investment attractiveness. Permit me to express our appreciation first to our esteemed Board of Governors for direction and providing the enabling environment for this platform. To our distinguished keynote speaker, panelists, special guests, partners, particularly Zenith Bank Limited, regulators and stakeholders whose support has made this summit possible. Your continued collaboration strengthens our shared vision of a vibrant, transparent, and globally competitive corporate sector. To our esteemed participants, thank you once again for being a part of this important gathering. We trust that the insights gained from today's discussions will be both enriching and impactful. Once again, it is my singular honor and privilege on behalf of the Board of Governors to formally welcome you to the 2026 Pearl Awards Corporate Summit and wish us all a productive, insightful, and rewarding session. I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you very much.
Please give him a round of applause. We can do better. Thank you very much. As leaders seated in this room today, we must ensure that the reforms, the decisions that we make, translate into tangible benefits. And that's why we're here. Once again, please give it up for the President, Founder Pearl Awards, Mr. Tayo Orekoya. Thank you. The theme once again is policy reform and corporate competitiveness, navigating towards a sustainable edge. The next person to give his opening remarks is a distinguished corporate leader, shareholder rights advocate, and governance expert with experience spanning public service, academia, and boardroom leadership. As chairman of the Pearl Awards Board of Governors, he champions excellence and value creation amongst listed companies, strengthening investor confidence and sustainable market growth. Ladies and gentlemen, permit me to welcome upstage the chairman, Pearl Awards Board of Governors, Chief Dr. Farouk Umar. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Distinguished guests, esteemed speakers, corporate leaders, members of the investment community, representatives of government institutions, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. This gathering comes at a critical period in Nigeria's economic journey. Across industries and sectors, organizations are operating in an environment characterized by significant policy, global competition. These developments underscore the importance of today's theme, policy reform and corporate competitiveness, navigating towards a sustainable age. Throughout history, nations that have achieved sustainable economic growth have done so through deliberate reforms that strengthened institutions, improved market efficiency, encouraged investment, and stimulated innovation. However, the true measure of successful reform lies not merely in policy formulation, but in the extent to which such policies create an environment where businesses can strive, compete, innovate, and contribute meaningfully to national development. Corporate competitiveness and policy effectiveness are inseparable. Businesses require predictability, consistency, and enabling frameworks to make long-term investment decisions, while governments depend on a vibrant and competitive private sector to drive economic growth, employment generation, wealth creation, and national prosperity. The relationship is therefore mutually reinforcing and must be nurtured through continuous engagement and collaboration. Ladies and gentlemen, this summit provides an important platform for such engagement. It brings together policymakers, regulators, corporate executives, investors, and thought leaders to exchange perspectives, examine emerging realities, and identify practical pathways for strengthening Nigeria's competitive position in an increasingly interconnected global economy. As an institution committed to promoting excellence and value creation within the Nigerian capital market, Pearl Awards has for over 3 decades championed the principles of performance, transparency, accountability, and sustainable corporate growth. We remain convinced that resilient institutions and competitive enterprises are indispensable to the achievement of Nigeria's long-term economic aspirations. I encourage all participants to take full advantage of the opportunity presented by today's discussions. Let us engage constructively, challenge assumptions where necessary, and collectively seek solutions that will help businesses navigate change while sustaining growth and creating value for stockholders. Finally, on behalf of the Board of Governors, I express our appreciation to our speakers, partners, sponsors, and all stakeholders whose support has made the summit possible. We are confident that the deliberations and recommendations emerging from this event will contribute positively to policy discourse and corporate development in Nigeria. I would also join the President in congratulating Mr. Rewane for his appointment as the Chairman of FCMB Holding. I'm sure you must have seen the new corporate rules recently brought by CBN regarding holdco companies. And I hope and trust you will help us in reviewing the policies and ensure that holdco companies are not going to have issues regarding interlocking directorship and so many other things that the CBN is trying to introduce. Shared services, we want you to look at it, and we believe CBN will be in a position to listen to you, giving you a position, expertise, and knowledge in the banking and economic sector of this country. Thank you very much.
Please, let's keep the... Oh, okay. Another round of applause for that. Dr. Umar. I'm not going to try and imitate what you just did. Even though I'm a whole lot younger than you are, but let's give another applause for that. It's an exercise in how to do what you call gymnability. Please, let's put our hands together again for him, please. And I want the hall to please, all of us in the audience to please give a round of applause to our speakers. Can we do that, please, generously? Please, it's early in the morning, and I'm sure the energy is still very high in all of us. Now, the Nigerian Exchange, Pearl Awards, all of us in this room, we're all seated at the center of Nigeria's capitalism. Lagos State is known for so many things, but we all are sitting here nicely. My chairman, why are you smiling? Because even you know that even the Nigerian Exchange, your CFO is signed by someone sitting next to you. Please put your hands together for the Executive Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, ably represented at his 2026 Pearl Corporate Summit by the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Gbenga Omotosho. Please stand up for recognition, sir. We appreciate your coming here to represent the Executive Governor. And you know, Lagos State is #1 when it comes to the capital market. The first municipal bond in the history of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was raised by local government in Lagos, with which the Sura market was built. And then the Lagos State government itself came to the market some 26 years ago or so to raise the largest bond ever in Nigeria's subnational history, one of the largest in Africa, 500 billion at the time, and that is still growing. So the Lagos State government is a friend, a long-term friend of the capital market, a very long-term friend of the Pearl Awards. Thank you very much, and we appreciate that the man who humbly remained Mr., even as an executive governor, remains a friend of Pearl Awards and has represented at various times of our event. Please allow me to yield the floor for the words of goodwill from the Executive Governor of Lagos State. Please may we stand for an applause for the representative of the Governor, the Commissioner, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy for Lagos State, Mr. Benga Omotosho, to please deliver the address of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State. Please, you have the floor. Please keep it coming.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much for that effusive introduction. Like he has said, we are no strangers to the organizers of today's event, and what the exchange has done in the activities of Lagos State government. Mr. Governor would have loved to be here himself, but the exigency of the office kept him away. You may have seen him maybe on television somewhere outside the country yesterday, and today now he's right in Ekiti, where at the weekend there's going to be a very crucial election. He is the chairman of the Governors Forum for Southwest. So the duty he has, I mean, he knows that every year he doesn't miss this summit, but that election coming once in 4 years, he will not be able to stay away from it and then come here. So I would like to apologize on his behalf. And because of the importance of this occasion, that is why he said I should be here to represent him. And I would like to confess that it was at the last minute that he decided this, because he had wanted to come by himself. And because of that, I didn't prepare any speech for this ceremony. But for me, it's just to acknowledge the fact that the cooperation between the exchange, the organizers of the yearly Pearl Awards and summits, it's been very, very tight. And like I said, he has never missed anyone for quite some time. And like the MC has said, Lagos State government holds the exchange in very high esteem. I do not think there is anything I will have done successfully without the cooperation of the exchange. As he said, at the time when people were afraid of going to raise capital to do development projects, Lagos State government took the lead and went in there. And today, all of us can see all the things that I've been able to do with the funds raised at the exchange. Today, all of us can see the Lagos Blue rail line running. The red line is running. We can see so many bridges. We can see so many schools that have been renovated. We can see so many things that we've been able to do in agriculture. And some of the things that we are going to be able to hand over to Lagosians before we leave office in a couple of months. And I know that anybody who sees all of this and who is visionary, who can see into the future, we know that a government that wants to make progress, that wants Nigerians to feel the impact of its activities, will not be far from the exchange. And I assure you that Lagos State government will continue to encourage everything that will make people to feel the impact of the exchange, so that we can have the growth and development that all of us want in the finance sector. Because without that kind of critical sector and development in it, there is little or nothing anybody can do. And when we talk about raising funds and working for the people, anytime my boss thinks about a project, the first question is, where will the money come from? And he tells them that, look, trust me, I'm a financial engineer. I've been raised in the best culture of banking, finance, and development. And that is the result of all of the things we are seeing today and what we continue to see. Very soon, we will have the biggest pediatric hospital in sub-Saharan Africa here in Lagos. Very soon, we will have a food and logistics hub that is big enough to feed the whole of West Africa for at least 5 months. God forbid, should there be drought. So all of these things we will not be able to do without the exchange. Very soon, in a matter of weeks, I'm sure Lagos State government, the process is on, is going to be coming to the exchange again to raise some money. On this note, I would like to congratulate the promoters of Pearl Awards and Summits and all of the people who have found this platform a very useful platform for us to talk about finance, about development, about all of the good things that can make Nigeria to grow. I thank you for organizing this, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
I expect a much stronger and to give me that very interesting sound to go with it. Can you have that from the team, please? Let's give a round of applause. A standing ovation, please, ladies and gentlemen. Please, for the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Benga Omotosho, on behalf of the Executive Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Thank you very much. On behalf of Pearl Awards, Board of Governors, we thank you very much to please pass our appreciation to His Excellency. And that offer that you spoke about, sir, may it come soon. And I know it will come because when Lagos promises, it's delivered. Now, this is not an exchange event. But why is the capital market called the barometer of every economy? It's because when a company is listed or an issuer goes to the market, whether to do a mutual fund or any type of fund whatsoever, you are tapping into and you are building the economy. That's what it is. What is SpaceX doing with trillions of dollars in IPO? Because it's the largest contractor in floating satellites to space by the United States. And without it, we don't have telephone, there's no communication. Your flights won't move without those things happening. Weather conditions, everything. So when the capital market, where they come together, that's where the economy is. May I please invite for a second goodwill message before we go to the keynote speaker, who, and I have a trouble because he arrived here before me. So I'm going to get another tongue lashing deservedly this morning for my keynote speaker to be here before me. But if you know Mr. Rewane too well, he takes everything, appointment, very, very seriously. And as well as so many of them who are sitting on the front row this morning that were here before me. Dr. Umaru Kwaranga. Please give him a round of applause. As one of our special guests of honor, the chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Group, the man who very soon will reach about $20 billion or more. Please give him another round of applause. This is the man you should stay very close to.
Our SpaceX is coming too, very soon. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, ably represented by no any other person than the Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Benga Omotosho. Other distinguished guests here present, Captain of Industries. I think I have to stand on existing protocol because when I start mentioning names, I'm at home. I may likely call almost everybody here that I have seen with the first and the second name. But before doing that, I believe, let me join all the previous speakers to congratulate Mr. Bismarck Rewane for this appointment. We are always proud of you, Mr. Bismarck Rewane. Mr. Bekomoto, let me use this opportunity to assure you that Lagos State has done a lot with the exchange, and I believe we are paying back at the exchange. All the capital market operators that are here will testify that there is no offer from Lagos State government that has not concluded oversubscribed. I can see some of my drawings raising their head. I want to assure you, this offer that is in the pipeline, consider it done. We are partners in progress for not only PAL awards, but Lagos State government in general. We believe some of the pipelines projects you have not mentioned is the Lagos Financial Center, which I believe before Mr. Babajide finished his term, we at the exchange, we are working day and night with his government to make sure that, like the way we have seen Dubai Financial Center, London Financial Center, we see the Lagos Financial Center very soon. Distinguished guests, captains of industry, stakeholders of the capital market, and members of the press, good afternoon. I'm delighted to participate in the 2026 edition of the PAL Awards Corporate Summit. The 2026 Corporate Summit is another opportunity for the PAL Awards to elevate conversations about corporate systems, practice, and governance through high-level discussions on pertinent topical issues. Let me begin by congratulating the PAL Awards for its continuous contribution to Nigeria's corporate landscape. Over the years, Mr. Tayo, Dr. Farouk, and other council members of PAL has evolved beyond a platform for recognizing performance. You have become an important institution that celebrates excellence, promotes accountability, and reinforces the standards required to build enduring organizations. This year's theme, Policy Reforms and Corporate Competitiveness, Navigating Towards a Sustainable Age, is both timely and relevant. It speaks to a defining reality of our economic environment. The success of businesses and the strength of our market are deeply connected to the quality of our institutions, the effectiveness of our policies, and our collective ability to adapt. Today, businesses operate in an environment shaped by rapid technological change, evolving global capital flows, shifting consumer expectations, and increasing competition. In this environment, competitiveness is no longer determined by size alone. It is shaped by resilience, innovation, governance, adaptability, and the ability to create sustainable value. For Nigeria, this conversation is particularly important. We have significant economic potential, a dynamic private sector, a young and innovative population, and an entrepreneurial culture that continues to inspire confidence. However, converting potential into sustained economic progress requires deliberate action, strong institutions, and an environment that enables businesses to grow and compete. At the center of this transformation is the capital market. Capital markets remains one of the most effective mechanisms for mobilizing long-term capital, supporting enterprise growth, and enabling wealth creation. They connect investors seeking opportunities with businesses requiring funding to expand, innovate, and create value. At the Nigerian Exchange, our role goes beyond facilitating transactions. We are committed to building a market ecosystem that supports businesses at every stage of their growth journey, providing access to capital, strengthening corporate governance, improving transparency, and creating opportunities for investors to participate in Nigeria's economic growth. Recent developments across our market demonstrate the important role capital markets continue to play in supporting national priorities. From equity capital raising to debt issuance, the market has continued to provide a platform through which businesses and institutions can access funding required for expansion and development. However, sustainable competitiveness requires more than access to capital. It requires an ecosystem where policies encourage investment, where businesses embrace innovation, and where institutions are built with a long-term perspective. This is why policy reforms matter. Effective reforms create the confidence required for businesses to invest and for capital to flow. They provide clarity, improve efficiency, strengthen market integrity, and enable companies to compete not only locally but globally. At the same time, businesses must take ownership of their competitiveness. The organizations that will thrive in the future will be those that are intentional about innovation, governance, sustainability, and creating value beyond short-term performance. At the same time, sustainability has become a defining factor in how businesses are assessed globally. Investors increasingly consider not only financial returns, but also the quality of governance, environmental responsibility, and social impact. Companies that embrace these principles will be better positioned to attract capital and build lasting institutions. We continue to champion initiatives at NGX that support that direction. Through market innovation, improved disclosure standards, sustainability-focused initiatives, and platforms that expand access to investment opportunities, we are working to strengthen the foundations of a more efficient, inclusive, and globally competitive market. As an exchange, there are a number of policies and policy reforms that we have been advocating. For that, we believe will enhance the attractiveness of our capital market and boost the competitiveness of our private sector and the Nigerian economy. And I'll quickly mention just a couple here. First, we think there should be specific fiscal incentives for listing on the recognized exchange like the NGS. The Nigerian exchange, for example, holds its listed companies to the highest standards of governance and disclosure. This is primarily for investor protection, but it also ensures that listed companies fulfill their obligation to all stakeholders, including government, in a timely and efficient manner. Annually, our companies collectively pay trillions in taxes to the public coffers and disclose detailed, fully in publicly available annual reports. This markets the work of our tax authorities easier and should be rewarded with incentives such as a lower corporate tax rate for quoted companies in Nigeria. A review of the Nigerian FAST policy to ensure strict enforcement will also help to sharpen corporate competitiveness. There should be no excuse for public agencies going outside to procure goods and services that can be produced in Nigeria. There are many other policy reforms and enforcement that will help make our corporate organization stronger and more resilient. And I'm happy to see that we have distinguished economist, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, as our keynote speaker, which I believe would address all those issues and so many other ones. The high-level panel with personalities such as my lab brothers, Mr. Olufemi Awoyemi of the non-Proshare, Mr. Bola Ajomale, ably represented by my sister here, my past president, and my lab brother, Mr. Rofo Dada, and of course, my CEO that I've just seen him coming now, Jude Chiemeka, and of course, my lab sister, MD, Mrs. Catherine Wosu, will no doubt dissect all the issues in depth and come up with viable suggestions that will take up with policymakers in both the legislative and executive branches. I congratulate Mr. Tayo Orekoya and his team for successfully organizing and hosting this 2026 PL Awards Corporate Summit, and hope that all of us that are present have an enjoyable and enlightening session. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
When you are the chairman or the CEO of an exchange, you feel like a father to all the issuers and all the others that are involved in the market. So it's understandable, the chairman of NGS Group, for mentioning so many names and knowing everybody in the room, because everyone in the room make up the exchange. Thank you very much. Let me also say thank you for coming. Let's put our hands together for Mr. Jude Chiemeka, who is just going to his seat, the Managing Director and CEO of the Nigerian Exchange Limited. He's one of our panelists today. Our keynote speaker is a man who has delivered so many keynote addresses, but always excites each time he does. Mr. Bismarck Rewane. And why is that so? It's full of illustrations, anecdotes. It gives you, sometimes you don't know which one to drop. And at the end of the day, you become a whole lot more enlightened. From speaking about the price of tomato on Market Street, to the price of petrol, to macroeconomics and the boardroom, is the man you give it to. Please give it to him as he comes to the podium. Mr. Bismarck Rewane, please. A round of applause for him, our keynote speaker. And if you have a keynote speaker without any notes in his hands, then you better be worried. Because the keynote will no longer be keynote. It's going to be a whole lot. Please put your hands together for him, Mr. Bismarck Rewane.
Okay. Very good. Are they going to show the slides? Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As we say in Nigeria, let me stand on existing protocols. Thank you very much for the kind words and the congratulatory messages. But today we are here to talk about policy reform and corporate competitiveness, navigating towards a sustainable edge. Whenever you have a topic that is so long, you try to simplify it so that people can understand, and that's my job today. About a week ago, Mr. Orekoya called me and said, please, we need the paper, the panelists need to discuss it. And I told him, I said, we're in a world of constant change. Whatever paper I send to you now will be updated and updated. And my younger brother here, Olufemi Awoyemi, called me and said, oh, I've done justice to the paper. And I said, sorry, the paper you have is not the paper I'm going to present. So, let me disappoint you by saying that the paper you are going to see today is completely and totally different from the paper you got 4 or 5 days ago. Why? Because for the 43rd time, Mr. Trump said the peace deal was here and that the Strait of Hormuz will be open. And, you know, as a young man, we had a joke. The guy who calls wolf, wolf, wolf every day, the day the wolf came. So people did not believe it, but eventually he is in Geneva right now and the markets have changed. At the time I was sending out the first paper, the price of oil was about $105 a barrel. Today it's about $82 a barrel. It's lost over 25%. So, and oil is what we thrive on, and that is what keeps this economy going. So today, I'm going to raise a few questions. This is a discussion to provoke thought and not to tell you what it is, because nobody knows what it is. So let me start off. We're going to be talking about reform and corporate competitiveness, the global highlights and the stock market, and the road ahead. And first and foremost, we're going to ask a few questions. Is it true that companies that operate in a reform environment are usually more competitive? Is it true? And in economics, when we start, the day you start economics, they tell you to differentiate between necessary and sufficient conditions. It is necessary to read to pass an exam, but it's not sufficient to read to pass the exam. You must read what is relevant, and you must understand what it is. So, is it true that companies that operate in a reform environment are usually more competitive? And so, what does that mean? Let us first define what policy reform is. It's an intentional intervention encompassing two main thrusts. Changes to the enabling framework, laws, decrees, regulations, and enhancement of institutional capacity to implement these frameworks. This is what the USAID says. Corporate competitiveness is defined as the ability of companies and nations to generate high income, employment, and levels while remaining exposed to international competition. And it may interest you to know that I think it was 2 days ago that was the 80th birthday of Donald Trump. Also, it is the 250th anniversary of American independence, and also the 250th anniversary of a man called Adam Smith who wrote The Wealth of Nations. Some of these things happen to coincide, but that is what we have. So what are reform deliverables? When you talk about reform, people say, oh, petrol subsidy. Those are sound bites. Reform means that you make intentional steps, or you take steps to ensure that you can deliver value to the people, that you kind of reduce subsidies and reduce the distortions. So one of the big things that we look at, the reform deliverables are higher GDP. But if you have GDP that is growing, that is high, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody benefits from it. You know, we talked about SpaceX. SpaceX has created the first world trillionaire. Elon Musk, who is African by birth and Canadian by his mother, is now worth almost $1.35 trillion. His wealth is more than the wealth of the 5 next richest men in the world. His wealth is more than half of the world's population, everybody in the world put together. There are 8 billion people in the world. 4 billion people's wealth put together is not as much as one man's wealth. So while the capital markets and reforms deliver value, while they give opportunities, it also creates massive inequality. So whilst we have higher GDP, higher stock market capitalization, higher productivity, we have low debt per capita, high income per capita. In Nigeria, we have low income per capita and high debt per capita. High life expectancy rates, higher buffers to withstand shocks, a thriving private sector, lower cost of doing business, and economies of scale. So this is the reform to prosperity chain. And it's important to note that. But you see, while the Industrial Revolution took 100 years to transform and change the world, the technological revolution took only about 30 years. And the artificial intelligence revolution is going to maybe take only 5 to 10 years. But every revolution increased income of everybody, but also increased inequality. And today in Nigeria, we talk about reform and the unexpected, unintended consequences of reform. You find that people the rich are getting richer, and the poor are not getting rich as fast as the rich. And where I come from, we say the poor cannot sleep because they are hungry, and the rich cannot sleep because the poor are awake. So, countries that have been successful at reforming, and it's important to note that India and Pakistan were the same nation, and they became independent and separated. Today, the income per capita of India, the GDP of India, is infinitely higher than that of Pakistan. India is a reform-oriented country. Pakistan, of course, they're doing some good things. They are They are actually working on the peace talks between Iran and the United States today. So we must thank them for that contribution. Also, that was where Osama bin Laden was living before he was taken out. So what are these countries that we say are reformers? Singapore, 1965 to present. What did they do? Anti-corruption, mandatory house savings, flat taxes. GDP per capita in Singapore, that is GDP per head, is $99,000. I want you to remember that in 1960, the GDP per head in Nigeria and Singapore were the same. Nigeria's GDP per head today is less than $2,000. The GDP per head in Singapore is virtually $100,000. Impact on people, 90% home ownership for everybody in Singapore. Life expectancy is 83 years. In 1960, life expectancy in Singapore was about 30 years. Now they've gone up multiple of 4. Universal education, healthcare, a completely transformed economy. Norway, oil producing. Government pension fund, 1990, fiscal rules limiting spending to 3%. The GDP per head in Norway is $96,000. I want you to imagine if a Nigerian took all his money in a year to a shop, and a Norwegian or a Singaporean went to the shop, the Nigerian will have $1,000 in his pocket, while the guy in Singapore will have $100,000 in his pocket. No contest. China, huge population, one-child policy, reformed household farming, trade liberalization, private businesses allowed, anti-corruption. In China, if you are corrupt, there's only one place for you. You are beheaded, right? GDP per head has gone from $156 in 1978 to $15,000. And we are talking about 1.4 billion people. So if Singapore is a one-city state, which has 4 or 5 million people, China has 1.4 to 1.5 billion people. It has an economy which is $17 to $18 trillion in size. I want you to note, Nigeria's economy is $256 billion, not up to $500 billion. These guys have $17 trillion. It has moved 800 million people away from poverty, and life expectancy in China is now 77 years. They had almost the same life expectancy as Nigeria. China was poorer than Nigeria in income per capita. The UAE was a desert 60 years ago. Dubai and Abu Dhabi and so on. Open economy, privatization of power, desalination. GDP per capita has moved from $2,000 in 1970 to $54,000 this year. Free education, healthcare, life expectancy. A lot of Nigerians make Dubai their second home. Nigeria, banking consolidation, telecoms reform, subsidy removal, pension reform is the most important reform that we have undertaken in this country. People talk about subsidies and all that. The most significant reform that has taken place in this country is pension reform. We had no pension funds. We're owing. Today, pension funds as much as 34 trillion naira. So, we've opened up the system and made sure that certain things happen. The countries with the highest per capita income in the world today, there's a country called Liechtenstein. You know, we're talking about Singapore with $99,000. Liechtenstein has $246,000. Everybody, if you divide their wealth equally, can you imagine everybody in this room having $250,000? Of course, you know what will happen. Ireland, known back in the day, you knew Ireland only about IRA, bombs, killing, and all of that. Ireland now has income per head of $135,000. Remember in those days, people were running from Ireland to England. Today, the Irish income per head is far in excess of the English income per head. Luxembourg, Luxembourg, number 2, with $154,000. Switzerland, $118,000. And yesterday they tried to pass a law saying that to cap the population of Switzerland at 10 million. But of course that didn't pass. So we go all the way. The United States is like number 8, $92,000. Denmark, Netherlands. But you can imagine all of these countries, right? Countries with the highest GDP in the world. The United States has $30 trillion. China, number 2, $19 trillion. Germany, number 3, $5 trillion. Japan, number 4, $4 trillion. And India, number 5, $4 trillion. If you went back to history, 1884, when they were doing the Berlin Conference to share out Africa, the partition of Africa, all these countries, India, Japan, Germany, were victims of the Second World War. Now, look at how things have changed. What has made these countries all of a sudden leapfrog and overtake others? Part of it, like we said, necessary condition was reform, but not just reform policies, but reformed institutions and reform mindset of the people. Because we seem to say that once we've reformed, then everything is done. No, it's not. Fastest growing countries in the world today, and there are 10 of them here. 1, Guyana, right? 19.8% growth. You know, Nigerians go to have their birthday parties in Grenada, Guyana, and all those places. Fine. You are adding to that growth rate for those countries. Macau, 12%. Senegal, 8.5%. You know Senegal, where the Prime Minister and the President are having all these problems? And the guy, the Senegalese president, is how old? 42, right? Okay. It's less than half the age of the President of Cameroon. Rwanda, 7.5%. India, 6.8%. Vietnam, 6.5%. Cote d'Ivoire, 6.5%. Ethiopia, 6.2%. Benin Republic, 6%. What is peculiar about these countries? Most of them post-conflict. I'm not saying look for conflict, because after conflict comes growth. But I want you to think, Vietnam had a war for how many years? Over 20, 30 years. Rwanda had the genocide of not long ago. Senegal was in crisis. Cote d'Ivoire was in crisis. In fact, the ADB moved its office to Tunisia before coming back. Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, if they're not fighting themselves, they are fighting Ebola or something. Right. Ethiopia, right? And then Benin Republic. So what is common to these countries? Post-conflict, 60% of these countries are African countries. They do not have multiple exchange rates. Currencies are aligned with fair value. Moderate debt to GDP ratio. Heavy inflows of FDI into a technology and infrastructure and economic diversification. So even if you don't have a high GDP, even if you are not fast growing, you can be a developed economy which is slow growing, like Japan. So Nigeria has to make up its mind whether it wants to be a developed economy, a fast growing economy, an economy where income inequality is not a problem. So what are the countries in the world that have the lowest inflation? Switzerland, 0.6%. What have the Swiss done? They are the repository for all political money in those days, coded accounts, money laundering, repositories and all of that. But they've been neutral in all wars. They've not fought any war. And their flag is the opposite of the Red Cross flag, which is a white cross on a red background. China, Chinese inflation 1.2%. Japan 1.4%. Saudi Arabia 1.7%. Singapore 1.8%. Germany 2.6%. United Kingdom 2.8%. Canada, Indonesia. One thing you must know is that Nigeria and Germany supposedly and officially have the same unemployment rate, which means that theoretically there should be a lot more Germans jackpying into Nigeria than Nigerians volunteering to cross the Mediterranean Sea. So some of the data we receive we have to take with a pinch of salt. But this is interesting. And I'm pointing out this so that you can know what reform means and its impact on people. The countries with the largest external reserves, China has $3.42 trillion. If the Chinese decide to sell their reserves and all their American securities, the dollar will collapse automatically. Japan has $1.3 trillion in external reserves, their buffers. Switzerland has $860 billion, of which some of the monies from African countries' leaders, which are kept there, are all part of their reserves. India, $697 billion. India had little or no reserves 20 years ago. Russia, look at Russia, $747 billion. Russia was a victim. You remember what happened when they attacked Ukraine? And everything was, they were thrown under the bus. Taiwan, small Taiwan, has $602 billion. Saudi Arabia, $495 billion. Hong Kong, $442, and South Korea, $427. So, top 10 most profitable companies in the world, in terms of valuation, not profitable in size. Saudi Aramco, which is your equivalent of NNPC, is worth $6.5 trillion. Google, Alphabet, is worth $4.03 trillion. NVIDIA, semiconductor chip makers, $4.78 trillion. Apple, $3.8 trillion. Amazon. If you look at these companies, 90% of them were not in existence 20 years ago. They are innovative, they are thought leaders, and they are doing things differently. Elon Musk, like I said, 20 years ago was an undocumented alien in the US struggling to get his papers. Today, he's richer than the 5 next richest men in the world. He has more money than 50% of the world put together. So, it means that reforms and open markets create opportunities to transform companies and the world completely. Look at the IPO of SpaceX. What is SpaceX all about? It's about satellite and using satellites to push away your internet, as it were. There are risks to having SpaceX because it means that you can communicate and nobody can encrypt what you're saying, nobody knows what you're doing. And so it could be a real stimulant for terrorism and all of that. So, tells you how much work we have to do. In Africa, the top 10 companies, Naspers, number 1, is worth $40 billion. But you know the market valuation, tentative valuation of Dangote refinery is $50 to $60 billion. So the most valuable company in Africa today, by the time Dangote refinery is listed after the IPO, Dangote refinery will probably be the largest by value. In the banking sector, first round is $30 billion. Standard Bank, which owns Stanbic, is 30.86. And if you look here, you'll find that Boa Foods is $12 billion. Dangote Cement is $13 billion. That's not has nothing to do with the refinery. MTN, $12 billion. Airtel Africa, Safaricom. So you can see that in the last 10 years, we've seen Nigerian companies pop up. One, is it because of reform? No. But without reform, would this have happened? I don't think so. So it means that reformed policies, reformed institutions, because Dangote Refinery is going to court with NNPC because the institution doesn't seem to understand that you need open markets to compete. And so I think that matter has been, or is being resolved. But all I'm trying to point out to you is that when you have reform policies, reformed institutions, open markets, you are more likely than not to succeed. Well, will this success translate into people's welfare? It's a different story. And when you come for reform implications on Nigeria, you begin to say that, yes, Nigerian companies are making more money, they are making more profit, they are paying more taxes, but the people are not feeling the benefit fully at this time. So there's work to be done. In the United States, we had what we call the Marshall Plan, where monies were thrown to make sure that the poor are not left behind. So our reform journey started in 1986 with structural adjustment programs, banking sector reform, when Soludo increased the capital requirements, pension reform, the most important of them all, telecom reforms, GSMs, privatization initiatives, capital market reforms, and the big bang, and so on. Okay. Now, relatively successful ongoing reforms and failed reforms. So, comment. Okay. So, do companies become more successful after reforms? The answer is yes. Why do you say so? Examples. After banking consolidation, what was the total market capitalization of banks in the Nigerian exchange before Soludo's reform? They were just after the telco reforms and listing, you now saw MTN Airtel. MTN's market capitalization, I think, at this point in time is almost higher than the banking system put together. And of course, when Dangote Refinery is listed, it's going to be more than all of this put together. And will soon exceed. In South Africa, the market capitalization is almost 250% the GDP levels. So, very successful outcome in terms of banking consolidation, telecom, power sector privatization failed, but now with the, what do you call it, the forbearance coming, I think the power sector reform, and I think Dangote has announced an intention to set up 20,000 megawatts. There's no way you can grow an economy to $1 trillion with 4,000 megawatts of power. So something has to happen. You can't do that without functioning refineries. Something has happened there. So we are going to be seeing transformational change, not because the people love Nigeria, but because the people see an opportunity to grow a business and to grow an economy at the same time. So, next slide, please. Have reforms in Nigeria delivered value to the people? The question is, before reform, this was where inflation was. Reform and subsidy brought inflation to 2023, and then rebasing and all of that has brought it down. Then the energy shock. So, if inflation remains high, the people suffer. So something has to happen. So central bank reform and reform of the central bank institution, we talked about it earlier today, will see and help to bring inflation down. And that's one of the key elements in this whole exercise. Nigeria, okay, then commodity price, and Bosin alluded to this. In 2023, a bag of rice was 33,000 naira. In 2026, 65,000 naira. It's up 96%. So yes, we are expanding agriculture, but the immediate impact is 96% increase in the price of a bag of rice. Tomatoes in 2023 was 55,000 naira. It's now 140,000 naira. It's 154% more expensive. But mind you, your salary minimum wage in 2023 was 33,000, right? And it's now 70,000. A bag of pepper was 20,000 naira in 2023. Today it is 130,000 naira, 550%. Beans, what they call Oloyin beans, is 35,000 naira in 2023, 67,000 naira now, up 91%. Petrol was 311 naira per liter in 2023. This morning it's down to 1,250. So it's about 300% higher. Cooking gas is a major problem. Cooking gas was, for a 10 kg, was 8,720. It's now 24,000, up 175%. Flour for making bread, 22,000 naira. Before, it's 54,000 naira. It has actually come down. And if you take a loaf of bread, it depends on what bread you're talking about. There's 400 naira agege bread in 2023, 2,300 agege bread, but there's another bread they call boku bread or something like that now, and that's 2,100. So that's lower. So the simple average was that in 2023 you were spending 21,804 for all of these things. Today you are spending 60,000. The difference between the two is 40,000. So 250% higher, but your salaries have gone up from 30,000 to 70,000. So next slide shows you poverty. In the northwest of Nigeria, 45.5 million people are in abject poverty. In the northeast, where the Boko Haram is, 20.5 million people are in poverty. North Central, 20.2. In the southwest, 16.3. In the south-south, 19.7 million people are in poverty. And southeast has the lowest, 10.9 million. Rural Nigerians, 106 million of them are in poverty, and urban Nigerians, 27 million of them are in poverty. So Nigerians living below the poverty line are 63% in 2025, from 56% in 2022. So the Bible says that unto him who has, more shall be given, and unto him who has none, even the little he has. So, but that's, so this is just, but what does this mean? Yes, the price is higher, but the supply is available. So what we call effective supply. Even though the exchange rate was 300, 400, you couldn't get it. You needed to know somebody who was a bank manager to get your PTA. Today you don't need to know anybody, right? So there's effective supply, there's effective price, not prices. Diesel was 842 in 2023. It's now 1,757. And this is cooking gas. It's a different story altogether. Next slide, please. So this is the exchange rate. It was 26th of November. It was 1,500, 1,450. It has appreciated. So during the Iran-US war, you could see that the exchange rate kind of closed. And the level of undervaluation, that the Naira is undervalued, it can only get better. And you can see the reform period. The two exchange rates merged, and the Naira has a fair value. And it's quite interesting that before everybody was looking for dollars, and now people don't even care whether it's dollars or Naira. As a matter of fact, if you try to pay people in dollars, they say, well, where am I going to change it? Just Therefore, if we didn't have the windfall from the Iran war with the price of oil going this way, the economy would have been in a what you call up the creek without a paddle. So, what to do? Fiscal deficit is projected to increase to -4% this year, and it's lower than what it was before, but it's not. We should be using our money more efficiently, right? So the economy is vulnerable, but generally speaking, the monetary policy has been tight and has kept things going, but the leakages still exist, and so there's a problem. The fact that you are reforming doesn't mean that if the reform is not total, you will not get the benefits. Next slide. So, can you sustain reforms? Typically, after 2 years of reform, you get reform fatigue. And then you have what they call ideological backsliding. Go everywhere, you'll find it, Ecuador and all those other places. So you've got to be careful of reform fatigue. And reform fatigue sets in if there's a big difference between the rich and the poor, if there are intervening factors. Political resistance, obviously, the people who benefit from the old system will fight back. Economic shocks can come from anywhere. Nobody expected February 27, 28 that something will happen in Iran, and it happened. Nobody expected on Christmas Day that bombs would drop in Nigeria. It happened. Nobody expected on New Year's Day that there will be an attack in Venezuela, but things like that happen. But I think those things are going to be fewer as we go into the midterm elections in the United States and the president begins to get slightly weaker than he is. So, social policy inconsistency is possible, vested interest to fight back, and social pushback. Next slide. I'm almost done. Key takeaways. Reform is a process, not an event. Like they say, the wedding is an event, marriage is an institution. Competitiveness must be clearly defined and measured. Reform creates an enabling environment for business. Successful companies become more successful under effective reforms. Strong institutions are as important as good policies. Sustainable reform is essential for long-term corporate competitiveness. Nigeria's future competitiveness depends on maintaining and deepening reforms. Reforms do not guarantee successful companies, but successful companies are far more likely to emerge, grow, and thrive in a well-reformed environment. Next slide, please. So highlights on the stock market, we've gone through this, and I will just go through it very quickly. US-Iran reached a peace deal. Immediate market reaction. The dollar fell to its lowest level. Brent lost 5% in 2 days. Gold prices have climbed because gold is a store of value. The development boosted investors' appetite for risk assets. And so while the global markets were increasing, Nigerian stock market was going down because people are now beginning to take money off the table, preparing for the next IPO. Because we've been here before. In 2004, 2008, there were private placements. Even if you put a dog in front of a private placement, people will buy it. So we've been here before, but this time, the regulators, thank God SEC is here, right? The regulators are more vigilant. The market is more open and transparent, and people have become wiser because those who do not learn from history are bound to make the same mistakes. So investors are cautious, and people don't know what. So what's happening in the global economy? We've gone through that. Increased risk appetite, lower inflationary pressures. Brent is 70, 80. Goldman Sachs, who said Brent will go to $200 a barrel, now says it's going to be $80 a barrel. So our external reserves are well maintained, but anything can happen. Government shortfall will lead to consumer windfall and lower imported inflation in industrial inputs and others. So those are the implications. Next slide, please. So this is just here you ran this scenario, but the most likely scenario today is that Strait of Hormuz will open by this weekend. But what's going to happen is that Strait of Hormuz is a pathway. It's a pathway. It's a pathway for oil and energy commodities to move. But what this war has taught us is that you win by not losing, and you lose by not winning. So who is the winner of this war? One, is it Iran, who won by not losing? Or is it the United States, who lost by not winning? So, no prolonged stalemate. It's 60 days, but in 60 days, what's going to happen? The World Cup, everybody's talking about World Cup, right? Not only that, in 60 days, the Federal Reserve is meeting tomorrow. They will not increase interest rates. They will not reduce interest rates. The Bank of England is going to meet next week. They will not increase it. The European Central Bank has already increased interest rates. If that happens, and I'm sure it will, there will be no increase in interest rates. We are going into a low inflation, low interest rate environment. When I say low, compared to 3-4 weeks ago, this war was supposed to last for 2 weeks, right? But it has lasted for 4 months already. And the impact is not over yet, right? And I want you to imagine that 6 million people transited through the Middle East, that's UAE, Dubai, and all that, every week. Now they are down to almost 20,000 people transiting. Dubai has become a ghost town, right? They are now issuing guarantees to people that if you fly on Emirates and anything happens, they will evacuate you. It has become that bad. So everything has changed. And it's not the same anymore. So the first thing to know as investors is that what has happened has happened. What is likely to happen, right? And they said it is better to travel, hopefully, than to arrive because the fun is in the journey. Next slide. So AI has reshaped everything. AI is creating unemployment already. We're also creating more income inequality. It has changed the scope of things altogether. So what is the world or the global economy going to be looking like a year from today? It is very important that we bear that in mind. And that as we go into the future, whilst on one hand some people are buying electric vehicles, some people are going to solar-powered roofs, some people are also buying. Shell sold their EV business or their renewable energy business to go back into oil and coal yesterday. So, jobs requiring specific AI skills are growing almost 8 times faster than total jobs market, with the average wage premium of AI skills 62%, and that's what we are seeing. It's a different world. The world we had during Christmas, last Christmas, and the world we will have next Christmas are going to be totally different from one another. Next slide. So global stock markets, a lot of people are moving their money out, even from Nigeria, and going. We also in Nigeria depend on foreign portfolio inflows. Those guys are putting their money into Fremic, into OpenAI, into SpaceX. So what have we seen? Between December and now, S&P 500 is up 8%. The rate of inflation in the US, even at today, is 4.2%. If you put your money in the S&P 500, you've made double the rate of inflation. Never happened in a long time. The Dow Jones, 5%. The NASDAQ, which is technology intensive, up 20%, 19.2. If you invested in England, you got 4%. If you invested in Japan, Nikkei, 27%. In Germany, which is more conservative, and in Hong Kong. So don't be surprised if you see people selling here to take money out because, right, reversal of flows, very important to note. Next slide, please. So, big tech deliveries. These are the Magnificent Seven. I want you to see for yourself. Apple up 7%. Microsoft down 19%. NVIDIA, which nobody knew about before, is 10%. Amazon, 6%. Alphabet, 17%. So, technology is driving everything. Same thing will happen, just like in Nigeria. You will see more and more. The Dangote IPO is a big enabler, and it's going to drive a lot more things. Next slide. So if you don't like stocks, and Warren Buffett said that he hates Bitcoin because Bitcoin is rat poison, right? Gold, -2. If you're in the NGX, up 56%. S&P plus 8%. But if you do NGX, you have to take away the inflation factor and take some. FTSE plus 4. And if you went to Bitcoin, -43%. Warren Buffett says Bitcoin is rat poison. Next slide. So is there enough for the new boys on the block? Anthropic, SpaceX, and OpenAI. Everybody's afraid of the new things. But anyway, finally, Nigerian stock market. Finally, this is what you've seen. And this is what we are seeing. And we are here to talk about the Nigerian stock market. It's everywhere there's so much upside. But some money, the market will correct itself, not sharply, but people will rotate stocks to prepare for the next IPO. Next slide, please. So, what has happened? T+1, 15% less counterparty risk exposure, faster cash turnover, and all of this have changed. And we've seen activity increase, prices increase, turnover increase because of 1, longer trading hours, 2, to T+2 to T+1, and currency alignment and convertibility. So your market is becoming more efficient, whether we like it or not. Next. Finally, so this is what the trading hours have done. Extended hours are aligned with the NGX. So in New York is open at the same time. US stock market and London are open. And so we are seeing that happen. More attractive to carry traders and high yield on NGX assets. Market share before Dangote refinery. Market share before. So this is how it was organized. This the structure, but after the refinery, will go up from 69 trillion naira in the first short run, and that will be in September. And so that changes the entire picture. So your total market capitalization will go from 156 to 224. Okay? Because some people are going to sell some shares to buy it. So it's not 1 plus 1 equals 2. It is 1 plus 1 equals 1.5. Right? So we expect the thing to move and more people to come in because of economies of scale. Next slide, please. This, if you're invested in treasury bills, your yield is nothing compared to the stock market. Your yield is nothing compared to going to the IPOs. But you have to be safe, right? Next. The road ahead, finally. Next slide, please. Nigeria's economy is projected to grow at 4% in 2026. Reforms for the past 3 years have strengthened the macroeconomic stability and resilience. Inflation will tick up to 17% before coming down. And it started coming down. Dangote reduced the price of petrol this morning, and it's going to reduce the price of diesel this week, and all other things. Nigeria remains a moderate risk for debt distress. More investment in transport, electricity, security, and governance. Growth must significantly exceed population growth rate, which we are achieving already. And the IMF has urged for stricter regulation of crypto and stable coins. The SEC, thank God SEC is here to look at those things. So, generally speaking, next slide please. Generally speaking, we are in a good place. This is the time to invest. Like I said, and this is the macroeconomic outlook, and you all have that in it. So, they say, Warren Buffett said that it is when the tide is out that we know those who are swimming naked. And rule number 1, do not lose money. And rule number 2, do not forget rule number 1. Thank you very much.
Please keep the applause coming from our keynote speaker, Mr. Bismarck Rewane, Chairman of FCMB, the Managing Director and CEO and founder of Financial Derivatives Company Limited, FDC, a member of a former committee, presidential committee on financial advisory, economic advisory to the Nigerian government. Thank you so much, Mr. Rewane. Thank you very much. Please give me another round of applause, please. One thing about listening to Mr. Bismarck Rewane is this. You're not too sure whether you should listen to him before you had a meal or you should listen to him after you had a meal. Now, there are consequences. If you had a very nice meal before listening to Mr. Rewane, you're likely going to end up with an indigestion. If you listen to him before you had a meal, and that's even worse, your level of hunger will go higher. So either ways, head or tail, he wins. Please give him another round of applause. It's that Nigerian economist who knows how to put the price of tomato in macroeconomic consequences and makes. Thank you very much. Always a good job. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it so much for honoring us at this 2026 Pale Awards Corporate Summit. Thank you very much. I want us to make speed, but I want to drop a note before I step down for my colleague. And that is the fact that Nigeria must not forget that the race for growth is going on across the African continent. And while we look at some big economies, there are young, old ones that are coming up very fast behind us. Take your time to look at the latest economic figures for Zimbabwe. As of yesterday, Zimbabwe's central bank dropped interest rate from 35% to 30%. Zimbabwe's inflation, 4.9%. The country's GDP, for the first time in 16 years, is $50 billion last month. Nigeria is 250. Zimbabwe's manufacturing capacity utilization is now at the 16, almost 20-year high of nearly 50%. So there are reforms taking place across Africa. By the way, Zimbabwe's currency, called the ZiG, is between 25 and 27 to $1 US. I mean 27, not 27,000. 27 pieces of the ZiG currency to the United States dollar. So we need to make haste. Like Mr. Rewane says, if your reforms is not complete, it's like going to the doctor and you take only half of the medication. You are not going to get cured. Most likely, you likely get worse. So we need to have a complete cycle of our reforms. Put your hands together again for Mr. Rewane. My colleague is here to bring us the panelists who will chew through Mr. Rewane and give us their own thoughts on the keynote address.
Thank you so much, Bosun. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you so much. You know, Mr. Rewane did say that when you have reforms, open markets, you're more likely to succeed than not to have them. And you know, he did lay the facts, which was there. He said the facts would be thought-provoking. And it's not something that would make us go to the toilets, I can say that. But then, it's thought-provoking, something we should all take back to the boardroom and, you know, deliberate on them and see how best we can achieve something with this country that we call Nigeria. All right, we would have the panel session right away. But just before that, permit me to recognize the Managing Director, Emerging Africa Trustees Limited, Mrs. Felicia Shonubi. Please give her a round of applause. Also, I saw him walk into the room while the keynote speech was going on. I'm talking about the former chairman, Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and member, Pearl Awards Board of Governors, Mazi Sam Onhaboa. Please give him a round of applause. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very much. All right, we're going into the panel session now, and you know, Mr. Rewane's keynote laid that foundation for that conversation that we're going to be having right now. I mean, we want to ruminate on it and, you know, seek that way forward on how best to keep improving the reforms that we have, and if we have to even formulate new ones. So right now, I would start with the first panelist who will be coming on stage. We know him as a leading financial strategist, a governance advocate, and a respected voice in Nigeria's capital market ecosystem. He's got over 3 decades of experience spanning financial information services, economic policy analysis, market intelligence. And if you've not subscribed to that platform where you could get all the information about finance, right? I'm talking about Proshare. He is the chairman, the founder, chairman of Proshare Nigeria Limited, Nigeria's foremost financial information and market intelligence platform. I'm talking about Mr. Olufemi Awoyemi. Please, we can do better. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Mr. Awoyemi. All right. Thank you very much. Also, joining the panel is a distinguished capital market professional, a corporate leader, currently serving as Managing Director, CEO of Africa Prudential PLC, a leading share registration and investor services firm listed on the Nigerian Exchange. He also serves as the President, Chairman of Council of the Institute of Capital Market Registrars, where she provides strategic leadership for advancing professionalism and standards within the registrar community. She is Dr. Catherine Owosu. Please give her a round of applause. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, that takes me to the Chief Executive Officer of, we've been talking about the Nigerian Exchange. I mean, a lot of companies are there registered on the exchange. And, you know, we can't have this conversation without having him taking a seat amongst the panelists. I'm talking about the Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Exchange Limited, who would be ably represented by the head trading and products, NGX, Mr. Abimbola Babalola. Please give him a round of applause as he steps forward. Thank you very much, Mr. Abimbola. All right. Also, joining in this conversation is a seasoned investment professional, financial market innovator, also with over 3 decades of experience spanning investment banking, asset management, corporate finance, capital markets. He serves as the Executive Commissioner at the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, where he plays a key role in strengthening market operations, regulatory effectiveness, and investor protection within the Nigerian capital markets. He's also not here. Bosinde talked about him earlier. He's bereaved, right? I'm talking about Mr. Bola Jomale, who will be represented by the Senior Monitoring Officer, Securities and Exchange Commission. I'm talking about Miss Uroro Obaji. Please give her a round of applause. We can do better, right? Thank you very much. And lastly, to join this conversation is a distinguished finance professional, seasoned stockbroker, banking executive, currently serving as the 13th President and Chairman of Council of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers Nigeria, CIS, Mr. Oluropo Samuel Dada, ably represented by Dr. Bennett Eze, the Head Research and Development, CIS. Please clap for him. Thank you very much. You're welcome, Dr. Bennett. And of course, to moderate this session, I have here a seasoned broadcast journalist, right? My colleague from way back. I'm talking about the head, the deputy editor, head, the business desk, Channels Television, John Mekwa. Please give her a round of applause. I mean, no other person to, pilot this conversation. Thank you. And I'm sure we could get our thoughts put our questions together as she takes this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Chiemeka, I thought you'd get it wrong. I was waiting for you. It's been years since we worked together. Good afternoon, everyone. It's really a great pleasure to be here and an honor to have regulators, corporate heads, decision makers, the NGX himself. It's a great pleasure to be here, and really, really looking forward to this conversation. And I believe Mr. Rewane has helped us to lay the foundation. We'll just build on that. So I think one of the major takeaways from Mr. Rewane is when he said, if your reform is not complete, then it's like, why even start? And Bosun has challenged us about what's going on in Zimbabwe. Guess what? Morocco is now the most industrialized country on the continent, taking over from South Africa. The last quarter, Kenya had the most of startup funds taking over from Nigeria. So really, nobody's sleeping. Everybody is on their toes on the continent and beyond. So we can't continue to mouth giants of Africa. And when the data or the reality comes out, we are nowhere to be found. So I'd like to start with you, Ms. Awoyemi. You're closest to me. What makes, or do you agree with Mr. Rewane that our reform is currently incomplete?
Okay, thank you very much. For the sake of time, I will say yes, I agree. But I hope I won't have to answer another question so I can say it all at once. I think it is lost on us, the quality of the presentation by Mr. Rewane. First and foremost, that's my mentor. And so I'm going to say all the nice things in front of him. But I must explain that I actually took time to actually read both his first draft, and while he was talking, I paid attention to it. I think the fundamental argument in his presentation is that the reforms were necessary. The second point was that we should distinguish between what we call reform and natural progression. In the course of things, certain things will move in a natural progression, and then when we talk about reform, we're looking for a catalytic change. The third thing is that what we have achieved is, in his presentations, to say, never forget where we're coming from. Because we seem to have this cyclical idea that the next person is the bad person, and we'll move on. And so what we have is that we have stabilized the macroeconomy, but we have not transformed the economy. And the indicators which he provided for us explain those things in quite details. He also, therefore, gave a position which is consistent with what we do at Proshare, which is what virtually most serious-minded and discerning analysts will conclude, is that you cannot say the reform has worked as intended if it does not meet the last mile. The last mile is the common denominator in the Nigerian economy, which is the household. That is where you have the consumers, you have the investors, you have the retail end, and what have you. And it is in that absence between the transition between stabilization and transformation that he said we have crossed a major hurdle, but we now have to look. And if we are competing with anything ourselves, if we look at the numbers he has shown us, we then have a challenge. And you can therefore look at the indices. And since my chairman of the NGX is here, and Bimbola is also here as well, I can let you understand that one of the most important things that I picked from this presentation was that just by Dangote listing alone, we appear competitive. That is not a definition of competitive, because we haven't addressed one of the fundamental things in this analysis which speaks about productivity, therefore. And so, so two things can be right. This government had a difficult challenge to do, and they have done the heavy lifting. Maybe not in the full scale, but it must be acknowledged. The next thing that must happen is for us not to get carried away and understand that we are now entering into a new phase. And that's where he made us realize that if we should thank the Iranians and the Israelis for their stubbornness to start a war, and if there are some other people who want to start wars that affect our economy, we should encourage them to do so in our best interests as well. Thank you very much.
That's a dangerous thing to hope for, but thank you so much, Mr. Awoyemi. So I'll come to you, Mr. Babalola. Mr. Awoyemi said, let's not mistake natural progression for progress. He also did point the fact about, or for reforms, talk about productivity. Now, when President Bola Tinubu came, even before he became the president, the three top individuals at that time seemed to have or attract positive sentiment to the Nigerian stock market, and we saw business sentiment positive and all. This move we have seen at the exchange, we know at some point we attributed it to pension reforms. The pension funds were coming in. Can we say that it is a reform that has brought this positive sentiment, or that natural progression of sentiment? Can we sustain?
Yes, I will. My immediate response would be that, yes, the reform played its own role, and that national progression also played its own role. And when I talk about reform, yes, I totally agree. One major reform that happened in Nigeria is that pension reform. And for us at the exchange, we've all constantly engaged the regulator and the participants in that market, because today they constitute what we call the institutional investors in Nigerian market. And for us, from a strategic point of view, you know, even when you are attracting FDI, FPI, you still need somebody to be there in case these guys choose to leave at any particular point in time. And it had happened many times that they had cost to leave. But we have people and Nigerians who are able to absorb that shock. And that is why today we're also happy that Nigerians have taken ownership of their own market. And majority of what you also see was a reaction from our own, what I would call reforms too. Today, we've democratized access to the stock market. It wasn't what it used to be, because before now, for you to even open an account is something else. Now, at the click of a button, you understand, in your home, we've taken investors to be at the driver's seat, meaning on my mobile app, I can have the same information, the same opportunity that is available to anybody, and I can take a use of that opportunity. Aside from that, we've also looked at, you know, where are Nigerians who are also interested in our market, and all those trade extension, you know, reduction of the settlement cycle is aimed at that. But to your question, yes, do we need a Dangote's listing? The answer is yes, to demonstrate that we can take and absorb, because one of the challenges or question people always throw to us is your market is not deep enough. So a Dangote comment will show that. But the end goal of the NGX is actually to bring the SMEs, Nigerians, to make use of that market to build companies so that, we are in 10 years' time, we want to see a scenario where we will say, this is the history of this company. It used to be this number, but because of the support that the capital market and everybody provided, this company is now here and is seeking for listings elsewhere. So you also see a trajectory of Nigerians' own company who are listed in our market, who had gotten that discipline of what the investors expect of them, now gradually seek listings outside of Nigeria, also demonstrating the fact that we've gotten the message, we've gotten the knowledge, and we can now list in international market. So again, for us, we need a Dangote, we need more of it. In fact, we have pipelines of, things that will follow once we're successful with Dangote, because a lot of experience and knowledge to gain from that listings, but we are not leaving out that man, that SMEs that provide jobs, because every economy in the world, it is the SME that actually grow the economy.
And I'm glad you said that. But when Mr. Rewane presented and we looked at the top movers of the markets, they were AI. You talk about SMEs, right? What are the intentional steps because I've been on NGX for a while that, guys, we need more listings. Where are they? How are you getting them? It's not just wishing Dangote is coming. What about those? What paths are you creating, for instance, to make it easier, especially for the AIs? We have now seen, they say in the next how many years, 45% of the job that will be available in Nigeria is going to be AI related. So what are you doing intentionally? What map are you creating to actually attract them, not just wishing for them to come?
So in terms of attracting, let me quickly, yes. In terms of attracting, one of the things you would see us do, we have an MOU with Bank of Industry, and start identifying that, yes, the Bank of Industry gives these guys single digits. But what if you need the next capital? You understand? The exchange is already, cultivating, interacting with these companies, chambers of commerce, we're also speaking to them. Bank of Agri, we equally have the same understanding with them and identifying would-be company that might have need for the services of the exchange, and also providing the necessary corporate governance training so that they get used to it. All those, we have over 40 million SMEs. So we're dimensioning them, classifying them, and grouping them to see what their needs are. Because some of them is not finance that is the major need. Some of them need to even understand how to run a successful business. All these things are ongoing. And that is why you also see that the interest we're seeing in commercial paper, you understand, is also a way to say, you can start accessing the market, not through listings alone, but by coming, look for your cheaper working capital, and let the market get to know you. Now, in terms of artificial intelligence, you see, one of the things I mentioned here, I said we've democratized access to the market. Today, everybody in the market is consuming an API. Whether you want to connect from the registrar to the investors, from CSCS to those class of companies are also emerging. You understand that they are providing some of these services, because it's not the NGX nor CSCS that is providing. What we provide is an API. And these companies, SMEs themselves, they are developing applications, they are developing tools, and they are consuming those APIs, and they're able to render and deliver those services to people. Lastly, we are also working with some of these payment systems, because if you look at their own, the kind of assets that they have reasonable and a sizable number of Nigerians that they can reach out to. We also want to collaborate with them so that if they can reach them, we don't have to go through setting up infrastructure to reach those guys. We can reach them because somebody already have that capacity, and we're able to consume from there and take it to the next level.
All right, let's have the regulator, Mr. Baji. This obviously concerns you. The NGX cannot do this. They do it under your regulation. If we have to attract those small businesses and make it easier for them to come on board, obviously, you have to do something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things he mentioned, I just want to piggyback off, is the culture we have here of not thinking that corporate governance is for even the small person. You see a company that needs financing or needs to access the market saying, oh, but I'm not an XYZ. Why do I need to be subjected to this level of transparency? Why do I need to bring in such structure? It's for the XYZ companies. And we've had a lot of collaborative sessions just to even put the basics and say, you know what, not just for now, but even for where the market is going. Very basic. Have structures that an investor can look at and trust. Have a track record that investors can look at and trust. When it comes to the digital asset space, because we already knew that even before regulation was introduced, it was already happening in Nigeria, regulated or not. So you'll see that the SEC has currently ongoing the regulatory incubation program, the accelerated regulatory incubation program, because we recognize that whether or not you bring these people into regulation, they will do business. So for digital asset service providers, virtual asset service providers, and people in the digital space or the AI space, like you're calling it, we're saying, you know what, if you have already begun business, let's see your model. Let's see what happened, what exists, and let's see how that can fit into the rules that we're curating. Because we found out that if we just create rules and almost in quotes shove it down the throat of the market, then you get the pushback which Mr. Rewane mentioned from the community. So when we have more of these collaborations, like examples I've raised, the regulatory incubation program, accelerated regulation program, then the people now begin to feel like a part of the process and understand why, and then compliance is better.
Thank you. Well, sometimes when we say all of these things and it sounds so good, when you get into the reality, it actually doesn't come out that way. We have the AFCFTA, which is supposed to be, you know, something that would drive trade on the continent. But I've spoken to some individuals who say getting on board, doing the registration and all of that is a problem. Now, when you talk about companies coming listing, there are costs, there are bureaucracies. How much of intentionality do you put in making it easier? Because as you said, truly, in Nigeria, we're not very used to paperwork. That's the reality. But we cannot run away from it. But how do you make it easier, not compromising, but easier for these businesses in the issue of costs, in the bureaucracy and the requirement, and making it known to them so that they can actually come on board?
All right, thank you. So one critical area, and I'm glad you mentioned, it's beautiful to sit down and say all these laudable things. One thing that is currently on board is to find a balance between regulating and making the market as safe as possible for investors, and also not stifling innovation, right? To find that critical balance. One way we've tried, and I'll not say we've achieved that, one way we're doing that is through collaborations with other regulators. So the NFIU, the CBN, the PENCOM. I'm sure Mr. Rewane can testify as part of the FCMB group, even before he became board of the bank, as one of the board members on the capital market subsidiaries of the FCMB. You will see that a lot of collaboration is happening between regulators, so that when we're having pain points here, it's not a bottleneck caused by some other sector that is because we found out after the crisis, nobody is exempt from anything. That's one way we're doing it. Another way we're doing it is when we're looking at a company, we're considering you based on your size, your scale, and your complexity. There's no one-size-fits-all mold that we say you must fit into. So a company whose risk threshold or risk exposure is not as much as another company will not be subjected to as much internal control requirements as another company. You will see us, for example, insist for a company, you must have board committees. And for another company, if you can see the efficiency of your risk management, whether it is a standalone person or it is one unit that is providing that function, as long as you can see that the function exists, we're fine. But again, we have to look from the point of balancing market safety and not stifling innovation.
All right, thank you so much. Dr. Owusu, I'll come to you. On the other side, of course, you have the corporates. In Nigeria, I mean, even when they talk about reform, it's a lot of Nigerians, it's their business. It's not my business. And yet, if we must feel the impact of this reform, everybody, individual, corporates have to. How are we doing, to start with, the corporates in, adapting these new ways, this message and gospel of reforms? What have you noticed, and what are we missing? What should we do to accelerate the impact of the reform we're looking for?
Thank you very much, and thanks everyone for having me. From the corporate perspective, reforms are good because they help you bring the best out of who you can be. When things are normal, everybody relaxes. But when there is a new reform, you are put on your toes. You begin to look for the positive that those reforms will bring. Why is it that some entities succeed during reforms and others don't succeed? It's because those entities that succeed are positive-minded. They look at what are the intentions of those reforms. What are the opportunities created by those reforms? And then, because they are agile and nimble, they're able to re-strategize and see what they can do differently. From the registrar perspective, where we sit in, we are data managers. That's our function. We actually don't wait for reform before we begin to innovate or do things within our ecosystem. When COVID-19 came in Nigeria, surprisingly, a couple of us registrars were able to work from home. In fact, for my own company, on a single day, we conducted 5 annual general meetings virtually because we were ready. We're ready. We had a lot of things in place. Nobody knew it was going to come. We were planning for physical meetings. But when it happens, the companies wanted to still have their meetings, and that happened. So reforms make companies look for better opportunities. Today, investors are more knowledgeable. Everybody is talking about Dangote offer. Everybody, the man on the street is talking about Dangote offer. What it means is that they are beginning to realize the benefits of what is happening in the capital market. What happened during the market crash of 2008, 2009 definitely can never happen again in this country because people now seek for information. People seek for information. They want to know. And then from the capital market operators, there is a lot of literacy programs going across in schools, everywhere, so that people can support what is going on in the market. NGX has been doing so well. It's because across the ecosystem, there has been collaboration, there has been communication, so that people understand what is going on and study the market. Even people, students ask questions today. When shares are falling, they begin to ask you, why is it falling? I invested so that I can make more money. But things are falling. So for corporate entities, I encourage every entity to look at the positive side of reform. If you need to now send some advocacy for certain things to change, if you look at when SEC came up with new capitalization earlier this year, on the 16th of January this year, of course, the different trade groups in the capital market, we came together. We sent emissaries to SEC. Look at this area, look at this area, look at this area. So by the time SEC was coming out with the modalities, they made some considerations for the market so that the market will continue to thrive. So between the regulators, the companies, the investors, there is a lot of collaboration going on so that we're going to succeed together.
All right, thank you. Dr. Eze, do we have enough collaboration? Reform is obviously not complete yet because while we have laudable macroeconomic data, the micro is not encouraging at this time, level of poverty and all of that. And the reform is supposed to drive all of this down. Do we have enough collaboration within the government, within the corporates?
Okay, thank you. You know, macro ordinarily, like you rightly mentioned, should translate to micro. The economy cannot be growing while the citizens are suffering. That is the reality. But having said that, we also have to look at it from diverse perspective. This reform came into full force 2 years ago, 2023 precisely, and we saw what happened. Inflation went very high, a whole lot of things went so bad, and 2025, we saw some level of stability. The first quarter at least, we've seen some level of stability also. Even the inflation rate that was released two days ago is not out of place. We were expecting something below 16% or 16.1%. So to us, it is not too bad. It is something we're expecting. So, but having said that also, there is need for regulators, operators to collaborate truly. And, you know, there's something Bismarck mentioned that most of us don't consider. We talk about reform. Reform is good, but reform will not drive itself. And we also reforming the institutions that are driving this reform is also key. So we are not seeing this synergy. You know, in our economics class, it starts from the government. That is the reality. You know, in our economics class, we usually have this analogy that there is a water somewhere, somebody is mopping it, and that person is releasing the tap. So the the fiscal aspect and the monetary aspect must align. And we're not seeing that synergy. So, and it is the public sector. It is the public sector. Thank you.
Take questions, but I think Mr. Awoyemi wants to react. He doesn't agree with you that you have questions. Okay, please, can we have microphone, please?
Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, panelists, I'm sorry Mr. Rewane has left. You know, when I sit in discussions like this, and I have passed through this circle severally, I keep asking one question: what is missing? Rewane showed the plethora of reforms we have undertaken from, even if it's from 1986 to date.
Hello.
Also want me to...
It's working.
All right, I think I'm hearing it. Looks it's working. There's one critical reform we need to focus more. The LCM of our problem in Nigeria is that we have not reformed how to deal with corruption. Corruption is where the problem is. Check everything we've done. We've not been able to get the ultimate outcome because of the endemic corruption in the system, more so in the public sector. And without our dealing with corruption, wastages, pilfering, Rewane said, he called it leakages. Nice way to say it. We won't get to anywhere. We'll come back 10 years and God will give me life. I will also be around. I will be speaking the same language. The private sector is trying, but without that ensuring that large sums of money the country is making is properly utilized in directing the acquisition or aggregation of assets and also providing the appropriate enabler. Look at power. Look at all other enablers of business. We haven't moved despite all the humongous amounts we receive. This country has, the reforms have been made. We have collected so much money from forex stabilization, from
subsidy removal.
but we are looking for money as if we have never seen money before. We are borrowing left, center, and right, taxing as much as we can tax. They're all good. My second point is, most of our reforms are catch-up. When are we going to start doing innovative reforms? We are trying to catch up. All the reforms are catch-up. We allow things to get terribly worse, then we are trying to catch up. When are we going to become much more innovative and proactive? And my last comment is on regulators. Again, my younger sister Ini said very well when we were referring to your comment, Ma. These things are nice to speak. Regulators come and go, and they just act sometimes like public service people. There is no drive to be able to meet and make it easier for the smaller corporations to come up with all the things you said. I've been in the system. I have interacted all around. You are always running after the regulators. When will they become facilitative? When will they become promotive? Instead of just being regulative, and all the attempt is to stop you, is to delay you. Until we change that mindset where every new regulation is an opportunity for some people to make more money, to cream the system. Every regulation creates a new set of beneficiaries from that reform. I'm sorry to sound this way. The way I sound is that I've been here, I've spoken in this language, and we have talked about this over and over until we hit the nail on the head, which is corruption and inefficiency that corruption brings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It seems a lot of people actually agree with you at the root of all. I know Mr. Rewane said one set of the reforms are failed is corruption. I wonder, does anybody think otherwise? I don't think so. I even saw Mr. Awoyemi taking notes. So how do we deal with this corruption? We've created EFCC, LCC, what's the other one? We have court issues. We agree as Nigerians that the leakages and the corruption, I think even AFDB noted how many millions of dollars the continent loses every year because of leakages and corruption. If we know the problem, please, why are we not solving it?
This is not a direct answer to Mazi because I've been, you learn how not to address your elders in public. But let us remember we're here for the corporate summit, right? And so rather than point fingers, let us look inwards to start with. I have senior members here who have served in government, who are now in the private sector, and some who are still working. And we have some individuals here who are in public institutions as well right now, virtually all of them, with the exception of Bimbola. You see, whenever you look at this is also not corruption, it's just pure battery problem. Whenever we look at issues outside government, we look at it from straight lines. But whenever we get inside government, we then discover that governance is about a maze. Sometimes what you call corruption is a very simple systems of incompetence, incapacity, and oversight that have overlaid itself that created these whole things. When I started, I said that we often confuse natural progression with reforms. And that is not my opinion, that is data. What the data has suggested is that, with the exception of telecom reforms, with the exception of things like, we still struggle with education reforms, we've done it well in pensions, we haven't been able to successfully do so. So whenever we say the government reforms, so anybody here can say that we change our exchange rate, is that a reform? No, we just understood certain thing was wrong and we dealt with it. That's not reform. Because we did not change the whole cash generation rule around it all. A reform by its very definition is very holistic. The reform is meant not only to transform the activity, but the institutions that delivers those services. And that is what reform is all about. And for you to do that, therefore, pay attention, Mazisa, is to pay attention to the system of command and control around how decisions are made. In private sector, we have absolute controls inside there, so we can get things done. At the government, we can. So finally, and I think it is important to say this, do you understand that in the financial markets, where we're running 5 simultaneous reforms at the same time? And the banking, and capital market operators, in insurance, and people did not even understand that we also exposed a number of architectural risks with that. And so what we were doing, which you call reform, is actually raising capital, which is a natural progression. It is now that the real reform is coming up. If you paid attention to the last 2 circulars by the central bank, and the insurance body has told you that we have actually moved in Nigeria to a risk-based architecture for which the systems and the institutions in this country haven't paid attention, for dramatic effect. For those of you who were in insurance, half of all of you who provided your assets and called it capital, basically put private equity down, your buildings, which were never your own. We did the same thing in banking when we moved money around. So, when we come to these events, like Bosi said, we don't want to spoil our lunch. But let's stop pointing out at corruption, because in this room, the SEC is here, NGX is here, stockbrokers are here. The confidence level of people dealing in the retail end hasn't changed. It took 15 years for us to start having IPOs. We have just been doing listing by introduction. So look, let's calm down. As professionals, we have the first responsibility to their own self be what? Be true. Is it working for us? Maybe not. But whenever we talk about reform as professionals, people who are qualified, missions matter. And that is why Bismarck started his presentation with a definition of what reform means. Thank you very much. It is not corruption. We have a problem.
That's deep. Do you have any question? Any question? Okay. If we don't have any question, I'll come to my panelists. Let's not forget we're talking about how to make corporates competitive. One word of advice, one strategy that will work, and then we'll be done. So I'll start from you, Mr. Awoyemi.
I'm sorry. Let me not sound like a broken record. There's only one thing that is important about whether you are doing reform or you are going through natural progression. 2 things, really. Capital, innovation. Abimbola was talking about FDI and FPI. You saw the conversation between Temitope and Tamino Yakubu, the DDG budget, right? The environment for hot money is rife. And it is also not bad money. But one thing about hot money is that that's the first capital that comes, that's the first capital that leaves, right? It's not also a bad thing, right? But here's what we therefore need, is to understand that unless you are such a negatively minded person that you are not paying attention to the fact that Nigeria is changing right before your very eyes, and you are not paying attention to it, the structure of the Nigerian economy is totally changing. At the macro level, at the monetary level, and we are still complaining. My own advice to you, and for those of you who work in organizations, is to pay attention and understand that your environmental scanning must be such that you understand those changes and choose to decide to be among the naysayers or among those who can recognize those changes. Those changes may not be perfect. For example, any argument about saying that you want to increase taxation on people does not even meet the smell test of common sense. Not at this time, because even within the economy, it doesn't make sense. The second thing you want to understand is that the concept of band A or band B or band whatever has no logic in utility supply. And that means, therefore, there are so many things that are going on is that we are making some of them up as we go along. That also is not a bad thing, but let us separate those issues from each other to understand that the structure of the Nigerian economy where capital is being formed. Pay attention. You're complaining, but most organizations are increasing profits, they are increasing capital, they are attracting new investments. Those are not flukes. Those are not lies. They are real and they are proven. But it also creates certain things around income inequality for us all. But we can solve all these things. We're just going to take the one after the other. So my own sense is this. Is it working for me? So many of you here are still owing me money, so it's not working for me very well. Some people are not making money, but by and large, and that I think is where an institution like a PL Awards is coming up, and that the conversation is making sense right now, is that pay attention to what is happening to the corporates. An institution of 30 years standing is still the barometer of measuring quality. No scandal, nothing whatsoever in this same country of Nigeria. Pay attention to that. And so to those to whom this organization lends itself, tells you that, please, can we just embrace some level of much more hope? Not the renewable hope, but hopeful reality. Thank you very much.
Well, pay attention to the change going on. If some people are benefiting from it, then you should also. Let's get to your own words. How to keep the corporates competitive at these times.
Thank you very much. I'll start by saying that if you did a 5-year strategy retreat last year, I tell you that retreat you did, the strategies you came up with are outdated. Things are changing so fast. And organizations that will be sustainable are organizations that are using data to make informed decisions. If we look at Mr. Rewane's presentation, he outlined the 10 biggest companies in the world. They are AI, they are tech companies. So whatever you are doing, you must ensure that they are technology driven. AI has come. He said a lot of jobs will go. Are companies thinking of how to bring AI into their business? Because it will surely bring efficiency, better cost of doing business. Because the average consumer is looking for both good quality product and at a cheaper cost. So companies, for them to remain competitive, they must look beyond what is going on today. Look at opportunities. What are the opportunities provided within your environment? What are those untapped needs? How do we diversify our revenue streams? Because one policy can just come and destroy one revenue stream. Then you can survive with other revenue streams. So let companies look inwards, continue to re-strategize. Look at risk management, very, very critical. Because in today's world, where the world is a global village, social media is doing a lot of things, data protection is very, very critical. We registrars that are managing data must ensure that we use the best technology to secure investors' data. Likewise, every other business, the banks and all that. Because if your data is compromised, if the hackers have access to your data, you find out you are completely out of business. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think from outside, for you to be competitive means you are in business, you are growing, and your plan is also to be there in the next 200, 300, 500 years. The exchange provides that platform to support you, where from the concept of I have an idea, I'm able to translate that idea into products and services that I can democratize, and I can raise cheap capital, patient capital, to grow that business. At times when we're discussing this Dangote concept, let me put it that way, it's not more of the listing that is of interest to me. The fact that one Nigerian had that intellectual property, is it IP you call it, to build a refinery. You understand? And the man is exporting that intellectual property into other countries of the nation. It's huge. And that is to say that companies that are listed and that want to be competitive too should start creating that unique product that they can scale up with the support and assistance of the market to gain access to the global village. Because these days, nobody talk about Nigeria is about 200 million people. Who says that I cannot scale up and serve Africa? And that is what you see some people doing now. They are no longer limiting their product and services to 200 million Nigerians. They are extending it to about 1.2 billion Africans. And by extension, you can serve the whole world. What you need to do is pay attention. And I think some people, I also like telling people this. The market capitalization of the Nigerian Exchange Limited by December, around December, was 99 trillion. Was 99 trillion. But today is about 156 trillion. Back out listings. It means in terms of capital appreciation, the market had created an average of 30 trillion, and he has distributed that to all Nigerians. While some are complaining, some are benefiting. And the easiest way for you to benefit is for you to actually participate so that you can have a share of the market. I always tell people, the easiest way to participate in economic activity and also in its sharing of its benefit is for you to invest in the market. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, everyone. Such good conversations that we've had. So we've spoken so much today about reform and what that means for the competitiveness of a corporate entity. And one currency I just want to leave with us today is collaboration. I know we've said it, but we really can't emphasize it enough. This market is for all of us. Take out the investor, take out market infrastructure, take out the operator, take out regulator, just take out one of these, and you have an incomplete market. So we can never collaborate too much. I mean, we've had trade groups over the years approach the SEC for all kinds of things. The innovations that you've seen today, none of them are from the regulator. None. In fact, a market that is driven by the players, that's an actual market that is moving forward. It's not a market that waits for the regulator to say, would you like this product? Then no one will like. It's a market that says, you know what? This is what we're seeing happening on the global stage. We come together as a group and we put it forward, not just as an idea, but something that has been thought through from start to finish. So please collaborate. Whether it's in your sector, we've talked about sustainability and how to see how competitive you really are, or whether it is public, private, or whether if it's even government. We've learned hard lessons from the financial crisis of 2007. I know we said it can never happen again. In my mind, I said, God forbid, right? Because but we've learned hard lessons that if you work in isolation, whatever you think is that fantastic thing you've achieved can be wiped away in just a split second. But when there's collaboration, it makes us more resilient. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. So what the other panelists have mentioned is also very key. But two major determinants of competitiveness for me. Number one is innovativeness. Number two is ethical governance. Innovativeness in the sense of your market innovation, your process innovation, and your product innovation. And I must commend the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, NGS, SEC, and other regulators in emphasizing corporate governance. You know, most times we see ourselves as I'm a small firm, I don't need this corporate governance thing. But the reality is, even if you're a nano enterprise, if you're a micro enterprise, if you're a small enterprise, if you're a medium enterprise, not to even mention large enterprise, you cannot survive the next 10 years without corporate governance. So if we're going back home today and our corporate governance infrastructure within our firm is not tight enough, please, let's go back and put it in order to take us places. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you, my panelists. Please, let's appreciate our panelists and all the great ideas and challenges they've thrown at us. And I do hope that, at least one or two tips from this panel will settle with us and will go home with us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Yemisi.
Please give them a round of applause. I'm sure you can do better. It's been an interesting engagement, I must say. You can continue. Panelists, please stay back. Please stay back. Would like to have a photo session. And of course, would also invite the founder, President Pearl Awards, Mr. Tara Orekoya. Please step forward. He'll be giving medals to the panelists here. Mr. Orekoya, yes, you could join them. Can we also have the chairman, Pearl Awards, Board of Governors, them? The commissioner, please. May we also have Alhaji Ahmad Rabiu kindly join them. Please join them, ma'am. Mazi Samoa Aboa. I mean, it's been an interesting conversation all the way. The bottom line is policy reforms will keep coming, but competitiveness is a choice we make daily. So it's left to us, right? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Rekoya. Can we have you here?
Okay, it's been a wonderful time. At this point, we want to present medals of honor. And we can only appreciate our panelists and the keynote speakers by doing what we know how best to do at Pearl Awards. Mr. Chairman, sir. So, I'd like to invite first and foremost. Oh, let me join this picture first. I think I should join this. Let me join this. I should join this. At this point, it's time to appreciate our panelists and our keynote speaker. And I'd like to invite first and foremost to the top table here, Dr. Ketrin Nwosu. Please come over. Dr. Ketrin Nwosu, please, can we give her a round of applause? Presenting this is the chairman of our board, Dr. Farouk Umar. This is being given to Dr. Ketrin Nwosu in recognition of your distinguished participation as panelist at the 2026 Pearl Awards Corporate Summit, and for sharing valuable expertise, practical insights, and professional perspectives that contributed significantly to the success of the summit by order of the Board of Governors, Pearl Awards Nigeria. Okay, next is Mr. Oluropo Samuel Dada. Mr. Dada is the immediate past president Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. He was here before 11 o'clock, and he was here for a long time. Incidentally, there is a program of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers that coincided this afternoon with this program, and he had to leave. And it was ably represented by Dr. Eze. Dr. Eze, you have done justice to the program. I'd like to invite Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi to please come make this presentation to Mr. Oluropo Samuel Dada on behalf of the Awards Board of Governors. Please, can we appreciate Madam as she comes? Please kindly help deliver this, and we appreciate you. You have done extremely well. Please, can we appreciate Dr. Eze? Congratulations. Thank you. Next is our own man. And I'd like to invite the founder, Chairman, Proshare Nigeria Limited, the irrepressible Mr. Olufemi Awoyemi, for this Medal of Honor from the board. And this is to be presented by Mazi Sam Ohwabunwa, and that is a perfect match. Mazi, please let's up.
It's not often I have the privilege to present an award to a protege. This young man, he always remembers that we have come a very long way, and I am so proud of his accomplishments and his steadfastness and growth. He is really
Congratulations, Mr. Femi Awoyemi, a distinguished member of the Board of Governors, Pearl Awards Board of Governors. Okay, next is Mr. Bola Ajomale, Executive Commissioner, Operations, Securities and Exchange Commission. He was billed to be here until just a few days ago. He was bereaved. His very old mother passed on in the United States and is currently in Houston, Texas. He's asked Uroro Obaje to represent him, and I'd like to invite to come make this presentation the representative of Mr. Governor, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Benga Omotosho, for this presentation, sir.
Good afternoon once again. Can hardly read this. The lighting is very poor, but I know it's given to you, Madam, for your
Medal of Professional Excellence.
For your professional excellence. I say congratulations, man.
Don't go yet, sir. Okay. The last but not the least is the one for, Mr. Jude Chiemeka, the CEO, Nigerian Exchange Limited. And okay, so Mr. Jude Chiemeka was here today as well, like I said. He's the CEO, Nigerian Exchange Limited, but he also had to go for the same program by the stock exchange. By the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers. So, representing him, we have Mr. Abimbola Babalola. Mr. Abimbola Babalola, please come up. And this will be presented by Alhaji Ahmad Rabiu, pioneer member, Pearl Awards Board of Governors. And we have said that we will have to probably bring him back to the board. He flew in all the way from Kano this morning for this event. Please, let's appreciate him. Let's appreciate him to make this presentation.
It's my singular honor and privilege to present this medal. Thank you. To present this Pearl Medal of Professional Excellence to you, Mr. Jude Chiemeka, through you. The rest right, and don't mind, I do not use glasses, but it is the 2026 Pearl Awards Corporate Summit. I wish you continue to support the Nigerian economy and the capital market. Congratulations. Thank you.
All right. The last but not the least is for our keynote speaker, and I'm going to invite the chairman of the Pearl Awards Board of Governors and also the representative of His Excellency Governor of Lagos State to please come up as Ini Jamaica. Please come up to receive this. Ini, please come up to receive these for Mr. Bismarck Rewane. He had to go for another program. Chairman of the board, can you please join Dr. Farouk Umar for this joint presentation? This is for Mr. Bismarck Rewane, the Pearl Medal of Honor for Service and Thought Leadership.
Good afternoon once again. It's, well, unfortunate that Mr. Rewane is not here. I really enjoyed this paper, and very insightful and showing class and knowledge. Well, thank God it's been represented, and the honor remains the honor, whether he's here or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sirs. So I think my duty is done. I hand over back to EMC. Thank you.
Please give them a round of applause. Your duty is done, but it's not over still, right? Okay, permit me to properly recognize the pioneer, honorary member, Investment and Securities Tribunal, pioneer member, Pearl Awards Board of Governors, Alhaji Ahmad Rabiu. It's great to have you. Please give him a round of applause. Thank you for traveling all the way from Kano to make this event. All right, at this point, we are rounding up, winding down, and it's good that we have closing remarks, a vote of thanks. And who better to take that than the Chairman Strategy Committee of Pearl Awards Board of Governors. I'm talking about Chief Mrs. Eniola Fadayomi. Ma'am, we would have you upstage once again. Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Your Excellency, the
Governor of Lagos State, very well represented by the Honorable Commissioner. I would still say that all the distinguished captains of industry that have graced this occasion today, our sponsors, our media partners, and all our distinguished ladies and gentlemen who are present here. As we conclude this very high-level seminar that we have had here, it's clear that the deliberations that we've had here today have been both timely and consequential. Nigeria stands today as a nation in rapid transition, fast-growing, entrepreneurial, reforming, being progressive, and yet still navigating the structural complexities of a developing country. The central question before us has been how to deliberate on policy reform, sound governance in both public and private sectors, and how we can use that to unlock corporate competitiveness and secure a sustainable leading edge. And I have to use this particular time to thank four very important guests we have had, in addition to everyone else, that have brought all these issues together. We have the Governor of Lagos State, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, who of course is our landlord here. We have our guest of honor, Chairman of the Exchange Group, Alhaji Umari Kwangringa. Our guest speaker, Bismarck Rewane. He's not here, but I hope the message of congratulations is also delivered to him as the new chairman of FCMB. And you will find that all these four leading speakers here and representatives have kind of tied in all that we have been trying to achieve. We need the policy certainty and coherence. Investors and enterprises require a stable, predictable policy. The insights shared here into all the various reforms, the data, the removal of structural bottlenecks underscore that competitiveness begins with government providing the guardrails within which the private sector can innovate and scale, and at the same time, not to create any new bottlenecks. Secondly, private sector governance as a growth driver. We've been reminded that competitiveness is not solely a function of macroeconomic policy. Corporate governance, transparency, and board effectiveness are equally decisive. And Nigerian companies that imbibe these principles will not only attract capital, but will set the standard for resilience. So, Nigeria's ambition to transition from a developing country struggling with high level of debt to a competitive, continental, and global player will be tested by our ability to convert these insights, these reforms, into measurable success. The cost of inaction is high. The dividend of disciplined execution is what is actually transformational. So we thank all of you for being here. to our guests of honor and key speakers for framing this discourse with intellectual clarity and policy depth. Your perspectives have anchored today's. To our distinguished panelists, the quality of analysis and the willingness to engage in difficult and sometimes controversial questions. The nexus between public policy and corporate strategy was interrogated with candor and expertise, and ensuring that diverse viewpoints were accorded due attention. And of course, to our sponsors, I know some names have been mentioned. I think Zenith Bank, for your commitment to advancing evidence-based economic dialogue. Supporting platforms of this nature is a tangible contribution to a national development. And to the organizing secretariat and technical teams, to our board members who are forever proactive, and to all participants. From government, industry, academia, and civil society, your presence affirms that Nigeria's economic future is a shared responsibility. In closing, so sorry. That the communique and recommendations arising from today's proceedings receive the attention and follow-through they deserve. Sustainable competitiveness will not be achieved by seminars alone, but by deliberate actions we take hereafter. I thank you all for your time, your intellect, and your commitment. I wish you safe travels, and I hereby declare this economic seminar formally closed.
Please give her a round of applause once the reforms will keep coming.